Okay, I am so excited to talk about this. This is years of experience and education packed into one podcast episode. I even woke up in the middle of the night to write the notes for this podcast episode. I am talking about money and principles of money that I've learned that apply directly to your health and principles in health. And I hope that I can give you a good balance of both abstract and concrete. I am definitely someone who likes to see abstractly, but being able to apply that in the concrete is super important. So I will give you a little bit of both. So, how is money related to your health? I'm going to give you 11 things that I've written down where you can, and it helps sometimes if you can make better sense of one thing, it helps you to kind of overlap that into another thing, which is why analogies can help and stories and comparisons and contrasts can help. So I hope that whether you feel like you're good with both money and your health and you're striving, you're thriving, you're excellent in both areas. Maybe you can learn something, maybe you'll be nodding your head, maybe you would like to add something that I missed, or whether you feel like you're good with money, but you're really sucky at health, or you're really sucky at money, but you're good with health and you're trying to improve. Maybe you're sucky at both, and all of those camps are okay. I've been in a mix of all of those. So yeah, let's dive into it. So my story, just a little bit of background, because your background, how you grow up, has a huge impact on your money and your health. And when I say money, let's say let's be able to substitute the word health. So they're both applying here. So just specifically about money, my parents, super hard hustlers, they both grew up in poverty. As my dad grew up in the projects of Newark, New Jersey, not New York, Newark. My mom grew up in the countryside of South Korea, to the family of farmers, and they had to learn a lot about money. And something I really admire about my parents is that they are so generous, and I can see how their generosity comes back to them twofold, tenfold. So I my parents told me to save, but I didn't know a lot about money in specific. There was an idea of, God will take care of everything and you just trust that God will take care of you. There's was also a different pathway that was kind of set up for me than I actually took. So in my world, it was most common for people to become missionaries or pastors, wives, or not so much lay people. And that's what I thought I was going to do, something in the Christian world. And I didn't. So hello, I had to learn about money the hard way. As I was not smart with money in my 20s. I was not smart. I spent what I earned. I was all about living in the moment. I didn't plan ahead. I didn't know very much about, stocks and investing. And I wish I had made some better choices, but it's okay. And honestly, I didn't start to really think about money and mm, think about my future with money and how to make better investments and choices until I started my business. I will rewind a little bit. When I first started budgeting, I was with my ex-partner, my previous partner. We were traveling around Southeast Asia, New Zealand, so we had to have quite a bit of savings racked up before we went on our trip. And with the exchange rate and expectations versus reality, we had to be pretty tight, and we learned how to budget. That's when I started creating my own budget for us. We had to learn how to manage our money well, because out of necessity. And I'm grateful for those ways that I was forced to learn, so to speak, and to be better with saving for the future. Anyway, so when I started my business, I started making a lot more money than I was used to. I was used to just a set salary where you make this much every month, but depending on your contract and what your boss said, there was no such thing as like tips or extra. It was just, you got it, and that was your allotment for the month. When I started my business, I was making so much more money than I was as a teacher, and I I didn't know how to handle it well, and I had to learn lessons again the hard way of high months, low months. If you're a business owner, you can relate. Sometimes some months are really high and some months are really low, and it took a while for me to get used to that inconsistency. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, I'm nowhere near where I would like to be yet, but I'm working towards it, and I've learned a lot. I've had some really big struggles with money. I went through a divorce and I will go into all the details, but there were some tough times. So in those tough times, it forced me to really confront what are my beliefs around money? What is money actually in my life? Why does it bring up so much fear? Why is it so scary? And I dove into so many books around money mindset, books around spirituality with money, and I educated myself on what are smart investments to make, how you grow money. And I've spent a lot of time and energy educating myself around money uh, as an adult. So if you feel like you're behind, you're not behind. Be kind to yourself. You always have this moment, but let me not get into those details yet. We'll get into that for the points. A disclaimer, I am not a professional financial advisor. So this is not my area of expertise. So take what feels relevant for you, and always, I don't know, consult with more professionals. And I do, before I go into the lessons, the 11 things that I've learned that can help you with both your money and your health, I do want to bring up this first correlation, where we do not exist in a vacuum. We live in a context, and everyone has different starting points. And this is the same for your health and fitness. When we talk about health, it's easy to put the emphasis on the individual without recognizing the larger systems that contribute to that individual's circumstances. And there can be a lot of shame and a lot of blaming. So I want to make this clear that I am not looking to shame or blame you for where you are. I think there's that balance between being honest, but also recognizing where you are in the system. Some people grow up, you know this, some people are born into richer families where they have the education and they have the assets. They're set up more for success than other people where they don't grow up with that education and they don't grow up with those assets. And I also want to point out that in our culture, in both fitness, health, and money, there is this push for more, always more. You should always have more money. You should always be making more. You should always be more fit, more healthy, constantly improving, whether it's through diet or exercise. And there's a big fear on both sides around health and around money, around there's not enough, everything is doom and gloom, it's scary out there, you have to protect yourself, you have to be safe. And I don't think that's necessarily healthy or helpful. So I just want to make those things clear about where we live, the context we live in. And I know it's different from the States to other cultures around the world. I've lived in different cultures, and people have different attitudes around money. It also depends on your upbringing, your ancestors, your parents, grandparents, and what they passed on, whether explicitly or subtly. And it takes a lot of undoing of around negative beliefs to grow, both with fitness and with money. Okay, so just getting that out there. We all have different starting points, i.e., we all have different privilege. And I want that to be clear as we start. Okay. And this is not a blame and shame thing. Okay, so number one, yeah, I'm so excited. Number one, I have 11 of these. And by the way, this is super valuable, super compact lessons that have taken years to learn. And I hope that they resonate with you. Maybe you're learning one of these lessons right now. Maybe you'll learn them in the future. So number one, money is a tool. It's not the goal. So often we make money the goal. Like, I just want to make more money. I just want to be rich. I want to have a higher net worth. I want to make over 100K yearly, I want to be a millionaire, I want to have all of these assets. Same for fitness. I want to be able to run this much, or I want to weigh this amount, or I want to have this X body fat, or I want to eat super healthy. Money is not the goal. Health is not the goal. It's a means to an end of living the life that you want to live. So let me ask you this question, and this is gonna really like kind of shift your mindset. If money is not the goal, and the goal is to enjoy the life that you want, answer this question and maybe take time to think about it later on, or pause this if it's timely for you. What would you do with an endless amount of money? Let's say that you have right now, someone just deposited money into your account where you have enough to live on for the rest of your life. All your needs would be met, your wants would be met. You just don't even have to worry about money. So you wouldn't even have to work. You wouldn't have to figure out how to make more money. You could spend your days doing what you want. What would you do? Like realistically, what would you do? And maybe for some of you that might sound amazing, some of you that might sound scary. I've heard stories of people whom this has happened to, and they get bored after a little bit because they don't feel like they have purpose, or they're not working, or they're not sure what they're doing. So sometimes, yeah, it doesn't solve the problem. Another way to frame this is, what would you do with perfect health if you didn't have to worry about, keeping up so much or working so hard? What would you actually do with your life? And money, and that's why it's helpful to ask that question, because money is not the goal. So what if you have millions of dollars in your bank account? What you really want is to enjoy the money. The joy is in spending the money and using it and giving it away or trading it for something else, because money is really just a made-up concept. If you think about thousands of years ago, millions of years ago, people didn't even have this concept of money, and we treat it so valuably. But it's just a tool. It's just a thing. It's even neutral. Just like fitness is neutral. You're neither bad nor good for what you eat. You're neither bad nor good for how you exercise. It's just a tool to live the life that you want. Number two, knowledge is often the biggest difference between those who have less money and are struggling to get by, and those who have a lot of money and have plenty. So education is super important in both areas. I will say that the money area is probably a little bit easier to get more solid advice than the health area. There's so much dubious stuff out there around your fitness and health, and it's hard. I know it is really hard to know what to believe. And I've spent years, decades even, of looking up this stuff. So I feel pretty good about where I am right now and being able to decipher information, but it's still out there. It's still confusing in terms of the fitness and health. But the more you can educate yourself on how your body actually works, the more you can educate yourself about how money works in this world, the more empowered you are to make better decisions. Do you know that one of the biggest difference between those who are wealthy and those who are poor is the amount of knowledge that they have, even down to using credit cards, different credit card information? It's not that it's not out there, or that it's impossible for poor people to learn, or it goes over their head, or that they're dumb. A lot of the times people who are poor are struggling to make ends meet. And so they don't often have that privilege of free time that those who are more wealthy have, or they weren't taught it from their parents because there are generations of poverty. And in America, it affects mostly people of color for sure. The system is rigged against people of color, especially Black people, going back to slavery. So it takes a lot of grit, a lot of motivation, a lot of power, which there's so much admiration for people who do come out of those situations. Yeah, to teach themselves. And same for fitness and health. The more you know and apply to your life, the more empowered you are. And this is kind of obvious. I made an allusion to this. I wish I had started earlier, but number three, the earlier you start, the greater the compound effects. So as you know, with investing, maybe there's compound interest. So if you put $10 into an account and there's a 10% rate, a return, then you'll add $1. So you'll have $11 in your account. If you wait long enough, then $11 you'll add on to 10% of 11, and then 11, it would be 12, 10, right? And then you would have the 10% of 12, 10 added to that. And it just grows and grows, and you don't have to do anything about it. So time is an asset with growing wealth. And the earlier you start, even if it's small, the more you have that compound effect. And that's the same for your fitness and health. I will say that people who grow up in healthier homes have more, or where there's a healthier emphasis on habits and eating well and exercising in a non-judgy, shamey approach, you're better off. You're having a higher starting point. And also, when you start to exercise and you just stay consistent with it, or you build those healthy habits around food and you just stay consistent with the basics, even if you're just maintaining or you're not even doing so much, you have those compound effects that maximize just by maintaining. Once you start, the bulk of those healthy habits, and that can take time depending on where you're starting, the more that lasts for the long run. So the power of compound effects. And it's never too late to start. If you're like, oh, I should have started when I was 20 and I didn't, so now it's all lost. No, 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 no. It's never too late to start. Start now, as soon as you can, for both your money and your health. And number 4, we put so much stock into money and health, but no matter how smart you are, or no matter how fit you are, you can still lose your wealth. You can still lose your health. There can be things outside of your control, like genetic issues, disease, cancer, that you have zero control over, or something could happen, something devastating could happen for you to lose your wealth. And that's why there's something, the lesson is not in, oh, I have to like put all these guards up so that I never, ever, 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 I don't need to go outside because the sun will damage me, or I need to make sure I like hoard my money and hold on tight because I don't want to lose it. That's not the answer. The answer is, hey, if this can happen, what do I need in case that happens? There was this guy that I met when I was first in Madison, newer to Madison. I was really aggressive, proactive with going out and networking and meeting new people and connecting both in my personal life and my business life. And that also has compound effects. Anyways, there was this one in winter. It was snow. I remember it was so cold. I took a bus to see there was a networking event, and I took a bus. It was far out of away from my home. And I spent my weekend doing this. And there was a guy there, and it just ended up being me and him. And he treated me to lunch. It wasn't creepy. He wasn't creepy. He was talking about his work, and he was a lawyer, and he also did courses, and it was an interesting story. But what he shared his story with me about how he had millions of dollars built up through his law practice. And then I don't remember, I don't remember what it happened, but maybe it was a divorce, or it was a deal gone bad, but he lost, or it was a fire, something, I don't remember, but he lost everything. He lost all of his money. He was in the negative. And he said that he had to work, he had to work to build his wealth back up again. And he even shared some numbers with me where he had like 6 times, 7 times as much as when he started. And he's like, I don't even care about the money. I just want to use my time to help people, which is pretty badass. And I think that people who realize that you can have all the money in the world and it doesn't satisfy you learn that lesson. But what's more important than just being able to keep your health or keep your wealth is learning resiliency and trust in yourself. Resiliency to know that whatever happens, you'll be okay. And you'll be able to come back using the knowledge that you've learned, or the support that you have, the resources that you have. It also asks you, this possibility asks you to trust yourself. If you were to lose all your wealth, if you were to lose all of your health, do you trust yourself enough to be okay? Or are you leaning on your wealth? Are you leaning on your health, wealth and health? Are you leaning on your health to feel good about yourself, or to feel secure? Because it's really a false security, money and health. You can lose both. So again, it's not the goal, it's a tool, a means to an end. And you can do all the right things. Believe me, you can do all the right things and try to safeguard yourself as much as possible. Disease can creep in. Disaster can creep in. You never know. So what's more important than money is your resiliency and your self-trust. Number five, and a lot of these are related, they kind of tie in and overlap with each other. Number five, peace is not dependent on how much you feel or how much you have, but about how you feel about what you have. And I've traveled around the world and I've seen places that are extremely poverty ridden, and I've seen places that are extremely wealthy, sometimes in the span of the same week. And you can see that a lot of the times people who have the most are the least happy, and people who have the least are the most happy. And it goes back to that not relying on money or your health for your sense of self or sense of security, because you can be peaceful and you can be joyful and you can be content no matter how much you have. So it's about the attitude that you have, not about what you have. And that's a hard lesson to learn. And I'll go into this, I'll go into this now since I already started that. I opened the door. When I was really struggling, I wasn't sure how much I could survive, if I would have enough. I was constantly faced every day with this fear of like, oh no, I don't have enough. Am I going to be okay? At some points in my life, I had to learn to practice to be content with what I did have. I would remind myself, you have this and you have this, you have a house, you have your health, you're sitting on the floor right now, you are safe in your body. And I had to just practice that, which goes into the next one, number six. Both money and health, fitness are so emotionally heavy. Like they hold a lot of emotions for us. And when we are turned on with our fear, fight or flight, our sympathetic nervous system, which is like the go, 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 gotta fight, gotta strive, or gotta hide. When that system is turned on, it's that primal system in our bodies that want to keep us safe. And it's hard to access our brain power or our rational power when we are in that fight or flight system, when we are feeling very scared. And just being aware of that sometimes if you are feeling like, oh no, I'm not going to have enough money, I'm never going to make enough money, this is so scary. Or if you're like, I'm never going to lose this weight, I need to find this next diet, or I need to make sure that I work out harder, and you feel that sense of fear, you can sense it in your body, like a kind of panic. It's different for everyone, but this is where I feel it, this unsettledness in your body. It's really hard to just be calm and think logically. And this is nothing to do with gender, this is all to do with our nervous systems. And so practicing calming your body down and being able to see more objectively and being honest with yourself. Okay, which goes into number seven. And it's never the worries that come up, the concerns, the fear, or even that sense of like, oh, I have so much money, so I'm such a wonderful person, or I'm so successful. All of that, it's not about the money and it's not about the food or the exercise. It's never about the money or the food or the exercise. This is why I've heard from people who say that I'm afraid of being evil or becoming evil if I make a lot of money. I'm afraid that I'll become power hungry and it'll change me. But the thing is that money doesn't change you, it just reveals who you are or your character, whether you have a lot or a little. There are people who make more money and they just amplify their purpose, amplify what they already want to do in the world by giving back or donating or giving to causes that feel relevant, like that guy, that lawyer guy. He told me about how he rescued cats and he loved to spend his time. No wonder he's in my podcast episode. He likes cats. We got that connection. If you can see in my video, Jayu, my lovely little baby cat, he was crying for my attention and I brought his scratcher onto the desk and now he's happy sitting next to me while I'm talking about money. Right, Jayu? You like hearing about money and fitness? Yeah, you do. Mommy talks about it a lot, huh? So it's about a pattern that's being expressed, a pattern that you believe subconsciously. I really believe this, and this is something I've learned, and it's a little bit maybe more abstract, more spiritual, but I believe that uh, our life is a mirror of what's going on inside. It's just a projection. Like I can see this, for example, when I make a post and I write certain words, some people will read it one way and then some people read it a completely different way. And I realize it's not about what I'm saying, it's about what they're reading. And I see that so often, like your life is a projection of your internal reality. So when we're talking about money or food or exercise, whatever, if you can see patterns, if you're struggling maybe with like, I make so much money and then I lose it, or always spend the money that I have, or I can never find myself consistent with exercise, or I eat a lot of food and then I restrict it, or I purge. Like that's all a pattern that's coming from the inside. It's not about the money, it's not about the food, it's about a pattern that's being expressed with these things. Because remember, money is a tool, fitness is a tool. It's just something that you can have a relationship with. So if you're noticing consistent patterns in your life around money or your fitness, that's a good way. That's actually a really great way to kind of see what's going on, to see what beliefs you have around what you deserve or what you desire. And money represents so many different things for different people. For some people, it represents security. For some people, it represents luxury. For some people, it represents status and success. For some people, fitness represents all of those things as well: security, safety, reliability. Something about food is that it doesn't talk back to you, it's there, so these are often prime ways for us to play out patterns that are playing on the inside. And until you change the inside and recognize those patterns and become aware of them and change them, you're still going to see those things happening on the outside. So we often, this is something, if you haven't listened to my masterclass, what you really need to know to enjoy fitness for health, to enjoy fitness for life, you can go to my website and you can find it. It's on the main page. It's not hard to find. You can also look in my link tree and find it. Uh, where was I going with that? It's all about a pattern being expressed. And I guess what I was going at is that masterclass talks about it, and I encourage you to listen to it if you want to hear more about it. Yeah. But it's never about the money or the food. I'm going to re-listen to this podcast and be like, Michelle, you should have said this here. It's okay. It's not about the money or the food. It's about a pattern being played out. And those are mirrors for what's going on internally. Number 8, two people can be in the same exact position and make entirely different choices and have entirely different outcomes. So this comes down to your responsibility and your power. So when I was in Korea, I was an English teacher, and a lot of the people that I worked with were English teachers. And of course, I don't know the ins and outs of everyone's lives. Your money is not really my business. It's not my responsibility. So I don't know all the ins and outs, but I would go on what, sales calls. I like to call them invitations, or uh, even like first dates, like checking out if we're a good match. But and not in a romantic sense, but in a business sense. But I would talk with people, and a lot of people would talk about their money. They would be open with me on these calls about their money situation. And I could see that there were people who were making the similar salaries, similar situations, and some people would have, I would tell them the price of the program and they would be like, yep, no problem. I got it. I can do it. And some of them would often would say, I don't have the money for this. I can't do this. And of course, I'm not judging the situations, but I do know, I have observed enough, and maybe you can understand this as well, to some situation in your own life. Two people can have the same exact salary, can have the same exact position, so to speak, or a similar position in life, and make completely different choices and have completely different outcomes. And again, it goes back to those patterns that you're playing out. Some people are so good at saving money and always having enough. Some people kind of spend whatever they have, and there's all these different patterns that play out. Some people never spend money, and that's not great either. So there's all these different positions that you can have, but that kind of goes to show that it's about the patterns that you are believing, what's going on underneath. And it also proves that you have a choice, that you can be in this situation. Have you heard that story of the guy who was a janitor in a school in this little town? And when he died, they found that he was a multimillionaire. And even though he had such a small salary, he just saved so much. And I'm not saying we all need to be like him, but it's all about the choices that you make. And I think that can be super scary and like, oh, Michelle, you offended me. It hurts, I know. But also it helps you to see that as much as you have the outcomes or the results, you also have the power to choose and make different choices. And it's the same with your fitness and health. Two people can be in a similar situation, have completely different mindsets and make completely different choices and have completely different outcomes. You are powerful. You are responsible to make your own choices and you get to create your life. So if you're not happy with where you are in money or health, you can make changes, and not to overemphasize the individualism, because there are sucky systems at play that disadvantage so many people. But within that, we have to make the best choices possible. That's why people who are minorities, whether they're disabled or they're people of color or queer people, I find that they have so much more resilience and such a brightness in life because they've had to learn these lessons and they've gone through it, and just amazing. People are so beautiful. Number 9, you have to make choices with what you have, not based on where you wish you were. So regardless of your situation, you can't complain or blame others, because that's just giving away your power. And that's just keeping you stuck in the same place. Even worse, it's bringing that negative energy into it, negativity into it. So you have to be painfully honest with yourself. Notice patterns, take responsibility, make changes. You can't say, this is an example for wealth, is like, I wish that I had so much money and I want to pretend like I have so much money because hashtag abundance. So I'm going to spend all this money when in actuality you only have, a smaller amount of money. You have to make choices with where you are now. And that's why it requires you to be honest. And I've made these choices before where I was operating from where I would like to be. And there is merit to that in some ways, but it's different from being foolish with your spending or being foolish with your choices. Same thing for fitness and health. You have to be honest with yourself about where you are first so that you can grow next. Number 10. Oh, these are good. The last two are the best, I believe. I should have put that teaser in the beginning, how they always do that. Save the best for last, fight to see the last one. Okay. But I think it's true. I wanted to save the best for last. That's what I always did with my plate as a kid. Number 10, no matter how much you make, you will only be able to hold what you believe you are worthy of having. Number 10, no matter how much you make or how much you receive, you will only hold on to what you believe you are worthy of having. So this was the hard lesson that I had to learn when I was making a lot more money in my business. It seemed like as much as I made, it would go out. As much as I made, it would go out. There were always these expenses. And I know that time in my life required some different expenses. There was a big transition time and the other factors involved that I won't go into. But if you feel like you do make a lot of money, but it goes out so quickly, that speaks to kind of a container that you have, an ability that you have. Same kind of analogy here for fitness might be you have this pattern of working out very hard and you maybe run a lot or you work out hard and then you kind of quote unquote undo it. I don't think that this is something you can actually do. I think it's a dumb idea, but kind of that idea of like undoing it with your food. And that speaks to having a good food is good or food is bad, exercise is good, non-activity is bad, that kind of mindset that can play into it. So that's why I think it doesn't really exist. It's not true. But you can kind of be in that idea of, oh, I ran 10 miles today and then I undid it. Even Pepto-Bismol has that commercial, right? Undo it. If you eat something quote unquote bad and your stomach hurts, you can undo it. Like people will sabotage themselves. We self sabotage. Like you did all this great thing and then you completely like undid it. And there's those patterns of ups and downs. A lot and then a little bit, a lot and then a little bit. And there is something exciting about that. There's something exciting about, okay, now I have something to work towards. But again, it goes to back to that pattern. Like, why are you feeling that way? What is coming up for you? So we have to do, that's why inner work is so important. If you're just focusing on the outside, it will take you so far, but there's also inner stuff that has to be addressed, both in wealth and with health. And you have to be okay with receiving good things and keeping good things. You have to believe that you deserve it and you are worthy of having those things. And if you don't feel deserving in your life, or you don't feel enough, or you feel like you need something outside of you to feel enough, that's going to keep you trapped in this low pattern of never enough, constantly cycling. And that's what the 4-H method helps you get out of, is you're enough already, stop the chase. And that's actually the best place to start your growth, both in your health and your wealth. And number 11, this is the last one. In my search for how do I get out of um, these money issues that I'm having, how do I actually make more money? How do I want so badly to be wealthy, to have enough, to feel okay, to not be so scared around money. And this was something that I believe it's the same pattern that I've had in my life around enoughness that I've played out in different areas. It was with exercise and fitness in my body. It was with relationships. It was with money. It was with business. All of these lessons being played out. It's that pattern that I keep having to relearn this lesson. But yeah, when I was struggling with the money part of it, uh, I I found this book, The Soul of Money. It was suggested by a coach that I follow, Simone Soul, and I found a copy of it, and it's such a beautiful book about money. It'll completely shift your way of seeing money. I highly, highly recommend it. Sufficiency is always the truth, is what she says. She was, what was it? What are the people who try to get money from rich people to give to nonprofits? What is that called? That's what she did. So she dealt with both the richest rich and the poorest poor all around the world. It was an international job for her. Again, I encourage you to read it or listen to it. It's so good. And her conclusion that she came to different principles, but the conclusion, the foundation was sufficiency is always the truth. Sufficiency is always the truth. And this is what I've learned too in my journey of health and fitness, and what I help others learn for themselves in the 4-H method and the work that I do is you are already worthy. You're already enough. You already have enough. You already do enough. You are enough. Sufficiency is always the truth. Yeah, it would be nice to have more, but as long as we're chasing more, 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 we're never going to be satisfied. We have to practice already enough in this moment right now, no matter what number you have in your bank account, no matter what number the scale says. Do you see the correlations here? No matter how many miles you can run, or how much you can chest press, or how clean of processed foods your diet is, or how much protein you're taking in, you're already enough. And trust that and kind of let go a little bit, because we're not going to take our bodies with us when we die. We're not going to take our money with us when we die. Trust to let go. And from that place, do the work as well. Do the work to figure out your patterns, undo these patterns, not so that you can be enough, but so that you can enjoy your life. So, last one. Sufficiency is always the truth. You are already 100% worthy and powerful. And that's the premise of the work that I do in health and in fitness. And it's really the best place to start. And if you would like to do that, go to the 4-H method, join us. I believe it's self-selecting. The people who need it are joining. And I would, if it feels like a yes to you, please join. Please don't put it off. Do the work. Put it into practice, because that's where real change happens, where real transformations are made. You can learn all this stuff about money. You can learn all this stuff about your health, but until you put it into practice and do that scary, messy work of called action, then you won't get anywhere, and expect to fail and expect to fall down on your face a few times and get back up again and keep trying, keep learning, because you're already enough. I mean, there's no place you have to get to. You're already there. I love you so much, and I hope that this was helpful for you. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown one more time of these lessons, and then I'll peace out. Number one, money is a tool, it's not the goal. Same for fitness. Number two, knowledge is the difference between the poor and the rich. Education is so important. Number three, the earlier you start, the greater the compound effects, and it's never too late. No, number four, no matter how smart or fit you are, you can still lose your wealth and your health. So resiliency and trust is most important. Number five, peace is not dependent on how much you have, but how you feel about what you do have. Number six, money and fitness are both emotional. You have to be able to be honest with yourself and calm your nervous system to make clear decisions. Number seven, it's never about the money or the food or the exercise. It's a pattern being expressed externally. And once you know that pattern, you are empowered to change it. Number eight, two people can be in the same exact position and have entirely different choices and outcomes. So it's on you to take responsibility for yourself and make the best choices for you. And number nine, you have to make choices with what you have, not based on where you wish you were. Be honest with yourself, regardless of your situation. Don't blame or complain, and take responsibility, make changes. Number 10, no matter how much you make, you will only hold what you believe you're worthy of having. So shifting your identity and being okay with receiving and keeping good things will be the work for you. And number 11, the best one, sufficiency is always the truth. Practice already enough, trust, and do the work. Let me know how this landed for you. Peace out, Coach Michelle.